you had the over in U.S. Latvia, that literally was, I don't like the term bad beat, but it's a bad beat when you have 2 goals overturned in the first period alone and you outshoot a team like 300-6, and you can't get it over. You can't get it over 6.5, and the game finishes 5-1. In similar situation with Germany and Denmark.
In-game live only on SportsGrid.
George, Rutschman is an interesting one here. I mean, this was somebody that we were told was going to be a superstar. I feel like we've done this now with back-to-back young catchers on Baltimore that they've taken. They've taken Matt Wieters. Remember when they took him super high and everyone thought he was the second coming? Then they took Adley Rutschman. I guess the good news is they have Sam Basallo, who's supposed to be fantastic too, but can't whiff on 3 like that, can you?
Fantasy Sports Today, only on SportsGrid.
Road trips to Kentucky and Tennessee, which are pressure environments where mistakes can snowball a team quickly. And not even listen at those games there. How about the home games they have left with Alabama and Florida, who bring size, who bring pace, and physicality that punish you on both ends of the floor.
College basketball today, only on SportsGrid.
Class is in session. Today, let's talk about the teaser. A teaser is a multi-leg bet where you shift the point spread in your favor. You get better numbers, but every selection has to win. It doesn't matter what you bet if you don't have the insights. Tune into SportsGrid and get ahead of the class.
Welcome to NewsWire here on SportsGrid. I'm Craig Mish. Great to be back with you for our midweek edition of the show. We'll get to the very latest, of course, diving into some college basketball big results last night around the league and spring training results as well coming this weekend. Michael DeCourcy will weigh in on what's happening in college hoops as we approach the month of March. We'll also take a prediction markets look at the American League MVP. We've got Sam McQuillan in the house from Legal Sports Report, Simon Applebaum from the podcast Tomorrow will be televised, and we're at Riviera for another edition on the PGA Tour. Let's get to our top story of the day here in sports, and we'll hit on college basketball in just a few minutes. But first, let's dive into the latest, yes, in prediction markets. A federal appeals court has denied Kalshi's bid in Nevada, so say farewell to anyone who's using prediction markets, at least for the time being, in the state. Federal appeals court has rejected Kalshi's emergency bid to halt the Nevada's push to block the prediction market sports platform from offering contracts in the nation's gambling capital. Kalshi had filed a motion to the U.S. Appeals Court in Las Vegas seeking an immediate and administrative stay on Nevada's city enforcement case during the company to keep them alive. As of right now, they appear to be on the outs. Kalshi will no longer be allowed to operate in the state of Nevada. Meanwhile, some changes could be entering into broadcasting and sports in the state of New York. MSG Sports says it will explore separating the New York Knicks and Rangers into 2 separate publicly traded companies. MSG Sports Board of Directors has approved the plan. James Dolan, the owner, has said this proposed transaction would provide each company with enhanced strategic flexibility for its own defined business focus and clear characteristics for investors. That's a lot of legalese. That's a lot of investment talk. A story for another day. Major League Baseball is getting ready for its biggest labor negotiations coming up after the season, and one of the key figures involved no longer going to be the case. Tony Clark, the head of the Major League Baseball Players Association, no longer. Executive Director Tony Clark resigned yesterday after an internal investigation revealed he had an inappropriate relationship with his sister-in-law, who had been hired by the union in 2023. Reaction around the league seemingly positive from the players, saying the ball will just keep going and keep rolling, and they will get exactly what they want in the upcoming labor negotiations. But here are some reactions from players, including Giancarlo Stanton, Marcus Semien, and Ian Happ.
Yeah, I just really heard about it on the field during practice, so I don't have much on it, as I don't have any info on who, what, where, when, and why. But not ideal. Timing is all I know, and let me get more info on it.
This came out with no discussion with reps. So, we have 30 other team reps that are seeing this news that it's like, it's hard to process right now. So there'll be a lot more conversations about what we do moving forward in a year where we have a CBA that expires in December. What I do know is the team we have, the chief staff of the PA is one of the best in sports.
Yeah, I don't know that it's ideal, but I would say that for the most part, the strength of the union is in the players, and the players ultimately are the ones that dictate the direction that any negotiation or any talk is going to go, and so that doesn't change.
One of the bigger stories in baseball coming up this summer will be the labor negotiations. All right, let's get to some college hoops as we're exiting the month of February and getting into March. The favorite to get to the championship, maybe even to win it all, has to be Michigan at this point. They pick up another big win in the conference over Purdue last night, 91-80. They were 2.5-point favorites. They now have 21 wins by double digits as they move ahead of Arizona to capture the ranking of #1 team in the country last week. Here is Dusty May on the environment in Indiana and picking up that big win over the Boilermakers.
What an incredible college basketball environment. Several times, especially in the second half, Purdue made a play. The place erupted, and our guys were able to answer and calm the storm a little bit. I thought our poise, our togetherness was incredibly impressive, especially Adai does so much for us, and for him to not really be able to play in the second half. Our bench stepped up. I think we had 34 points total off of our bench and really sound play, ball security, whatnot. And so that's how we're built. We have a team that so many guys are capable of stepping up and making contributions.
In the second half, Cadeau was really good. I thought Cadeau made some really good plays. And when you sit there and like your fourth, fifth option can carry the weight, or someone like LJ Kaysen can come in the game and like control a game at the end of the game, even though he didn't control the game today, so to speak, he made a lot of good plays. Like, just look at their bench. And when you can go to them and get consistence, get threes from all of them, they make their free throws, their bench doesn't turn the ball over. Like that's good. They're the #1 team in the country for a reason. They, a lot of times people have like a solid 5 and then like they make a dip when they sub. Like these guys don't make a dip. Like they're a good team.
Miami, Ohio continues to roll in college basketball, although they got a scare last night against UMass. But inevitably, the 22nd ranked team in the country is now 26-0 on the season after their win over Massachusetts, 86-77. They closed as 3.5-point favorites and naturally covered that spread as well. Meanwhile, Michigan State keeps rolling. Number 15 team in the country crushes UCLA 82-59. Jeremy Fears, 16 points, 10 assists. Tom Izzo, after the game, certainly looking at his team contribution, especially from his seniors, that led to the win.
It happened when I needed to happen. I thought my seniors, Coop and Jackson, were really good early. I thought Jordan and Jeremy were really good early. I thought Cohen, and that's kind of what we got to be. My 4 guys got to be good. And they were really good. We did a lot of really good things, mostly defensively. I felt for Mick, his team's a lot better than that. And I guess he upgraded that to a flagrant 2, huh? That's the first time I saw a coach do it, but that sounds like Mick, so he'll get that straightened out. And
what was your thought in the student section chanting Booker's name?
I could give a rat's ass about the other team's student section.
I just meant overall the way that you
I would like to give you a kudos for the worst question I've ever been asked.
Did you like
you should take it.
The preparation of the...
Do you really think I care about the other team's
No, I
don't
think you care about the other
Are you
team's
raising your voice at me?
No, I'm just
Yeah, you are. Yeah, you are. Come on, dude.
No reason.
Come on. Yes, you are. Everybody's standing here listening to you. Everybody. This is on camera. They can hear you. I answered the question. I could give a rat's ass about the other team's student section. I coach UCLA. I don't care about Michigan State students. I mean, who cares?
The preparation.
The team that just lost by 30. Apology forthcoming. Iowa beats Nebraska 57-52. Number 9 team in the country ends up winning. They're 19-7 on the season. They were 1.5-point favorites and won by 5. That's right, 57-52 in a college basketball game. Okay, in baseball, let's go around spring training. Pablo Lopez, one of the top starters on the Minnesota Twins, looks like he's going to need Tommy John surgery, has a UCL tear that's going to cost him the entire season. Meanwhile, the Dodgers, Dave Roberts, back on the field in the full squad workout for the first time. They've won another title last season, looking to win a third straight this year. That is the goal, says Doc Roberts.
I feel good. I'm excited. Our players are excited. Coach is excited. It's good to get everyone together and start our journey for 2026. And I think there's always optimism early, like every camp. And so now it's just kind of trying to sustain that energy, that focus every day, and put those blinders on and get to work.
Is there a theme or a message in which you hope for this team to embody this season?
I think for us, it's just more of looking forward, focusing on ourselves and what that means, and not kind of concerning ourselves with outside expectations, noise, other teams. And that's what we've done a pretty good job of in years past. And with that, that should remain the same.
Meanwhile, we're keeping an eye on some Olympic hockey. Canada and Czechia tied at 2 in the knockout round at the Olympics. Of course, Canada, one of those teams expected to either win the gold, come close. That wouldn't be the case if they lose today. We'll have Mike DeCourcy coming up next, weighing in on some college hoops right after.
Road trips to Kentucky and Tennessee, which are pressure environments where mistakes can snowball a team quickly. And not even listen at those games there. How about the home games they have left with Alabama and Florida, who bring size, who bring pace, and physicality that punish you on both ends of the floor.
College basketball today, only on SportsGrid.
Class is in session. Today, let's talk about the teaser. A teaser is a multi-leg bet where you shift the point spread in your favor. You get better numbers, but every selection has to win. It doesn't matter what you bet if you don't have the insights. Tune into SportsGrid and get ahead of the class.
Obviously, I wanted to play golf. Like, I grew up in England. I came to America on a scholarship because my aspiration was to play the European Tour. And then once I got to America, it was like the PGA Tour. And I think I'd always had kind of this affinity for like the swing and coaching and teaching, and tinkering is probably the best way to say it. I'd say that's probably, which is a dangerous road to go, right?
The Smiley Show, only on SportsGrid.
So Bill Belichick. Bill Belichick is dating a woman that is 50 years younger than him.
Yes.
Okay? Jordan Hudson,
Yes.
as you know, okay?
Yes, indeed.
And it's disgusting. And it's sick.
Yeah.
And no joke, where like when Bill Belichick was like 60 years old, she was in nursery school.
The Craig Carton Show, only on SportsGrid.
Welcome back to NewsWire here on SportsGrid. We got Michael DeCourcy in the house, weighing in on the latest in college basketball. Mike, thanks for coming on the show. As always, our midweek check-in with Mike, and we check in on the hottest team in the country, #1 overall team, ranked in all the polls, Michigan Wolverines, 91-80 over Purdue, signature win of the season, having to go on the road and getting it done as well. What's left to say about Dusty May's crew, Mike? They're great.
Oh, they're fantastic. But I think what's not said enough about them is the strength of their bench. LJ Kaysen showed in their game a week ago at Northwestern when Elliot Cadeau did not play well, and Dusty May, the head coach, decided, that's okay, I got LJ. And LJ has played, I think he scored now double figures in every game since that. He's been phenomenal. And you have such great ability. Trey McKinney doesn't start because you've got basically a 4-year veteran in front of him in Mari Burnett. But Trey McKinney is a future first-round draft pick. He's a super talent. It was McDonald's All-American and all that a year ago. So you bring that off the bench. They have size with Will Cheddar, dynamism on the wing with Roddy Gale. I'm telling you, give them a center. I don't know. Pick one from the three that play for Michigan right now. It could be any of the three front court guys. And I think that team would make the NCAA tournament. That's how good their depth is. And that's one of the reasons why Michigan's so overpowering.
Yep, 6 teams in double figures last night. I mean, that's as good as it's going to get. 17, 13, 13, 13, 12, 10 for all the different players on the Wolverines. And as of right now, after the win last night, pretty much not bettable to win the Big Ten, or even, honestly, as crazy as it sounds, Mike, to get to the Final Four. They were minus 130 all the way up to minus 160 now with the win yesterday. And to win the national championship plus 350, I guess that's the only thing left that you could potentially speculate on, because who in the world would take a team minus 160 to go to the Final Four? Not me. All right, now let's get to their rivals in Michigan State. They beat UCLA 82-59. I saw the coach of UCLA very upset after the game with a question. He should be more upset with the fact that his team just got absolutely spanked, as here we are heading toward March, and it's Izzo season again, isn't it?
It is. I think Mick Cronin's upset with all that, by the way. His team has not defended this season. Very atypical of a Mick Cronin team. They've had teams that didn't register well in the defensive rankings because they weren't very good. But this team brought back a lot of talent from last year's group, which was ranked in the top 20 in defense at KenPom.com. And this team is not defended at all. I watched them play against Maryland at Pauley in late January, and I saw a UCLA/Mick Cronin defensive effort. And that was the only time I can remember that happening with this group this year. And so it's certainly a problem, and I'm sure he's frustrated. This was supposed to be a much better basketball team when they brought in Donovan Dent, who'd been an All-America level point guard at New Mexico, and it just hasn't worked. Dent has not been good, and the team has not responded to much around him. So the fact that they went down 20-ish in the first half against Michigan State, a team that somewhat struggles to score, was somewhat astonishing. As capable as Michigan State is, and they may yet have a Final Four level season, they still shouldn't be putting UCLA down by that much in a half. Michigan happened the game before, and it was totally understandable because Michigan's doing it to everybody. This Michigan State team is a really good team, but they do struggle to create baskets, and that's what they've got to continue to address.
Miami, Ohio wins again. We've said that now. I'm waiting for Mike to come on the show here after a loss. It just never happens. They've now hit 26-0, so they're joining some of the elite teams in the history of college basketball after the win over UMass last night, including a couple of the best teams that I've ever seen play. The Runnin' Rebels of 1991. Kentucky Wildcats of 2015, one of the best Gonzaga teams we ever saw in 2021. I mean, a couple more wins here. We're talking about one of the best teams in the history of the regular season, Mike. It's crazy.
Well, they have a chance. They do not have a significant opponent for the remainder of the regular season. They have challenges. They'll have to go into some difficult gyms, Ohio U, for instance, in their season ender, and get out of there with a win. One of their big challenges was on Tuesday night, having to go to UMass and play Frank Martin's crew. And what's interesting is that because they're undefeated now, when they go on the road and the other team isn't great, like UMass is okay, but not great. Everybody shows up anyway because they want to see the undefeated team. So they're facing full houses everywhere they go. He's selling more tickets than Bruce Springsteen, for goodness sakes. Travis Steele is the head coach at Miami. So that's the challenge that they'll face for the remainder of the regular season. And then when they get into the conference tournament, if they still are undefeated, they'll be at that point. If they get to the end of the regular season, think about it. 2004, St. Joe's did that, lost in the first conference tournament game. And then Wichita in 14, Kentucky in 15, and in 21, we had Gonzaga. Those are the only undefeated regular seasons in this century. They have a chance to match that. Going to be a challenge, but they certainly have the ability to do it.
Tonight, let's preview a quick game here, Mike, if you wouldn't mind, before you go here. We've got Alabama, Arkansas. Their showdown tonight between two teams trying to hang around in the polls, 20 and 25. Arkansas, John Calipari at 20, and you've got the Crimson Tide at 25. 7 p.m. Eastern start tonight. Looks like a tight game projected here. You have a side or a total or a lean on this tonight?
Well, it's going to be difficult for Arkansas because they're going into a hostile building, and Arkansas's problem is that they don't defend. They are an extraordinary offensive team, but defensively they have been deficient all year. They don't have great physical power, but they still aren't as disruptive on the perimeter as a team with their degree of dynamism and length and depth should be able to be. So I don't love Arkansas in this case. I would be surprised if they were able to get a W for sure. And I think it'd be a challenge. It depends on the number. I didn't see the number if you put it up there. I'm not sure what the number is, so I don't know whether they would be a likely cover.
Okay, 3.5, 4 is the number.
Yeah, exactly. There you go. Make it tough on us. I'd say if I had to lean, I would go with Alabama, but that number's right where you'd expect it to be because they're so good out there in Vegas.
All right, fair enough, Mike. Thanks again. See you next week.
Road trips to Kentucky and Tennessee, which are pressure environments where mistakes can snowball a team quickly. And not even listening to those games there, how about the home games they have left with Alabama and Florida, who bring size, who bring pace, and physicality that punish you on both ends of the floor.
College basketball today, only on SportsGrid.
Class is in session. Today, let's talk about the teaser. A teaser is a multi-leg bet where you shift the point spread in your favor. You get better numbers, but every selection has to win. It doesn't matter what you bet if you don't have the insights. Tune into SportsGrid and get ahead of the class.
Obviously, I wanted to play golf. Like, I grew up in England. I came to America on a scholarship because my aspiration was to play the European Tour. And then once I got to America, it was like the PGA Tour. And I think I'd always had kind of this affinity for, like, the swing and coaching and teaching and tinkering is probably the best way to say it. That's probably, which is a dangerous road to go, right?
The Smiley Show, only on SportsGrid.
So Bill Belichick. Bill Belichick is dating a woman that is 50 years younger than him.
Yes.
Okay? Jordan Hatan,
Yes.
as you know, okay?
Yes, indeed.
And it's disgusting. And it's sick.
Yeah.
And no joke, where like when Bill Belichick was like 60 years old, she was in nursery school.
The Craig Carton Show, only on SportsGrid.
Welcome back to NewsWire here on SportsGrid. Let's get a quick Olympic hockey update. As of right now, Canada and Chechnya are headed to the third period, all tied up at 2. It is the knockout round, so the team that wins moves on. The team that loses goes home. We'll see if Canada can hang on. They may have to do so without Sidney Crosby, who was injured in the second period in this game. We'll see if he comes back for the third. Also, the United States will play later today. They take on Sweden at 3 p.m. Eastern. They're obviously a very big favorite. We'll see if they win. And then we're getting closer to the medal rounds at the Olympics. in hockey. All right, now let's check in with our buddies from the early line. It is Donnie and Joe taking a look at the American League MVP via the prediction markets. Very interesting every year. It's Aaron Judge as the favorite, and see who basically rises to the top. Last year was Cal Raleigh. Who will it be this year? Junior Caminero? Will it be Bobby Witt Jr.? Will it be someone else? Let's check in with the guys.
Can you feel it in your blood, people? Major League Baseball starting to ramp up, but maybe they ramp down next year and we don't have a season. We'll get to a couple of those topics in just a few moments, but we love these type of markets that we can look at with Calcium Poly Market, a different way to invest here. And if we're talking about the American League, who's going to win the MVP, it always starts and apparently lately finishes with Aaron Judge. On Calci, currently trading at a 36% chance to win the MVP. Right behind him is hit machine out there in Kansas City, Bobby Witt Jr., which, if you look at Kansas City's field and the Yankees field, it's a huge advantage to Aaron Judge, but not as much as it was last year. Joe, is Kansas City going to move in some of those fences and lower them down, maybe helping Bobby Witt, but he sits there with a 21% chance to win MVP.
Well, and it's funny. Did we learn nothing from last year? I mean, let's be realistic. We started this season where we were like, the odds were so ridiculous, Donnie. We were like, you know what? Just name the awards after Ohtani and Judge and be done with it. Like, nobody is going to. Well, Ohtani, there was never a question about it. But all of a sudden with Cal Raleigh, there's always somebody that pops up and maybe, you know, the same old isn't. There could be some value maybe looking a little bit lower down on that board, Donnie, because, listen, nobody had Cal Raleigh neck and neck with Aaron Judge the final couple of weeks of the season. Not even remotely close.
AL MVP. And again, you're right about this, too. Like, you just had a guy last year as a catcher hit 60 bombs, and it was still Aaron Judge. So Bobby Witt's going to have to lead Major League Baseball in hits, average, RBI, and home runs to take down Aaron Judge. See if he can do it this year, but it's just a credit to Aaron Judge and how good he is, and he works in that ballpark, man. Swinging a long drive. Even if John Sterling can't tell if it's a foul ball, home run, or what, it goes out of the park here. Let's get the golf action here. The Genesis Invitational. No surprise. Who do you want to invest in? Of course, it's Scotty Scheffler at 24%. Rory at 7%. Xander Schauffele at 5%. It's a shame that we can't invest in Tiger Woods in this market right now. Or how about Colin Morikawa? Fresh off a victory after 900 days on the tour, coming in red hot this week. Only trading at a 4% chance, Joe.
Yeah, that's kind of crazy, right? Maybe he's still celebrating for that first win in a long time. But honestly, the hot hand, it's so hard to bet against Scotty Scheffler. But quite honestly, Donnie, to me, the only way to approach him in the markets like that is look for ways to fade him. I mean, that's really the only way that you can make any money on him. Because if he goes out and he's the first round leader, that is just going to be ridiculous. It's over.
Yeah, it's almost like you hope for him to shoot even par on a Thursday and be like, oh, now he's going to win. I get an actual price on him. Oh, well, wait, he's back 7 strokes. Don't worry. In about 24 hours, he'll be in the lead or at least 1 stroke off it. That's how you approach Scotty Scheffler here. Now, here's the marketplace that we need to know, Joe. I sometimes like to get on a hill and take a stand and be like, this doesn't make any sense. And from what you're hearing, say, Donnie, I know it's a long time in the future. And the date we're talking about is December 1st, 2026. What date is that? That's when the Major League Baseball Players Union and the CBA expires here. So on Poly Market, they're actually asking you the question that you can invest in right now. New MLB CBA by December 1st. There is absolutely zero chance that happens. A year ahead of time, the highest paid players in baseball are telling you they love what the Dodgers are doing, which is a strike against their own team. Aaron Judge, in his own city, beloved and MVP and paid a ton of money, is currently ripping his owners for not spending even more money despite being in the top 3 payrolls in Major League Baseball. Now you have the Major League Baseball owners, Joe. They're telling you right now, we have war chests ready to go, and we will lock you out the entire season. This isn't saying, Joe, will there be a CBA by the time we start Major League Baseball season? They're actually saying, are we going to get a CBA done ahead of time when you know Major League Baseball doesn't work that way? It's currently trading at a 51% chance. There is no shot they have a CBA by December 1st in place. None whatsoever.
Nope. Unless something crazy happens, and now there's even more doubt and questions with the removal of the leader of the entire players union. So, Donnie, I'm with you. To me, I think to think anything else other than lockout right now is absurd.
I was thinking about betting him to finish top 5 every week. And then he got off to that start last week, and I said, oh, okay, I dodged a bullet there. What does he do? He finishes top 5 again. And you would think he's probably going to do it again. I mean, he has, I want to say it's like 18 top 10 finishes in the last season or something like that. That's not even close to what Tiger had. It's way better.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
The level of hockey is being played. Like, if you're not really into the NHL, you should watch this and you will enjoy it. Like, it's a different level of hockey. Like, the NHL, basically, there's like 6 really good guys on each team. And in the Olympics, like, every guy is good. Like, it's next level. It's something to behold.
Winter Games Central, only on SportsGrid.
Class is in session. Today, let's talk about the teaser. A teaser is a multi-leg bet where you shift the point spread in your favor. You get better numbers, but every selection has to win. It doesn't matter what you bet if you don't have the insights. Tune into SportsGrid and get ahead of the class.
You're just trying to always build around what somebody does well. What is the DNA, the nucleus of what they do? Yeah. And everybody who gets to the tour is great at something because they're the top 1% of the 1% of golfers around the world. So I think people sometimes forget that, oh, that won't work. Well, if you'd gone back 15 years, people would look at Scotty Scheffler and probably go, that's not going to work.
The Smiley Show, only on SportsGrid.
Sam McQuillan is with us from Legal Sports Report. Is it the end of prediction markets in Nevada? I guess that's the question that we have to start off with here on the show and ask Sam if indeed that is the case. Sam, welcome back to NewsWire. We already know that several states around the country are really not happy about having these prediction markets operating without any sort of jurisdiction, legality, and of course, taxes. That's really the key here. What do you make of this latest piece of news that we got today?
Well, it's certainly a new development when for the past couple months we've been talking about just, states filing lawsuits against Kalshi and Polymarket and Crypto.com and just other states kind of doing the same, judges ruling one thing and then court proceedings playing out. The biggest news now that we have in kind of this patchwork is that Nevada filed a civil enforcement penalty against Kalshi, basically came after a judge denied Kalshi's emergency motion for administrative stay. So Kalshi had been saying, we can't stop offering our contracts in Nevada. It would hurt our business too much. We have to let the lawsuit play out. The judge said, no, you have to stop while the lawsuit plays out. So the lawsuit is still going on, but it means that now Kalshi has to actually comply with, the state gaming regulators in Nevada, who were the first real, regulators to come out against these prediction markets. Of course, earlier this week, you had CFTC Chairman Michael Selig came out and issued a really strongly worded op-ed and then a video on X where he defended prediction markets, called out the states for, trying to crack down on them, mischaracterized them as kind of overreaching and saying that the CFTC plans to really defend these prediction markets in court. That, of course, is a very stark reversal from what he said only a few months ago in November during his confirmation hearing, where he said, I'll pretty much. So now we have a situation where the courts have decided one thing. It'll be interesting to see now if the federal authorities do get involved. If Selig and the CFTC do weigh in on this Nevada case, they certainly have a bunch of other lawsuits as well. New Jersey, Maryland, countless others, 34 states have filed in support of these states. So it's kind of just another wrinkle in this long prediction market story. We'll see what happens in Nevada as far as Kalshi and Polymarket really pulling out. I think there have been some other jurisdictions across the country where these apps have been able to kind of geofence themselves offline, but this certainly is the biggest one here in Nevada, obviously, the gaming state and really the leader on this front. So we'll keep watching it and see what happens from here.
Sam, DraftKings and FanDuel launched their separate prediction markets, prediction apps, and they seem to be doing swimmingly, at least for the time being. The CEO made some interesting comments about their platform. What did he say?
Yeah, DraftKings came out with earnings this week, which is always a really good time to get color from management and what they view as kind of the road ahead. Obviously, prediction markets have been really the big news that everyone's been focused on. But an interesting reaction to some of his comments. He's called prediction markets the biggest opportunity for the company since PASPA fell. That basically means since states were allowed to legalize sports betting. So that's quite a statement, considering that's basically been the company's entire business for the past 8 years. And DraftKings only just got into prediction markets a couple months ago. It has sports prediction markets in about 17 states, but they actually adjusted guidance this year to account for hundreds of millions of dollars that they're going to invest in the prediction market service. So it's off the ground, but they have a lot more plans to expand it to really become, what they want to do on every front, which is be the leader on this front, not just compete with Kalshi and Polymarket in states where sports betting isn't legal, but to offer a better product, to use its user base of sportsbook customers, convert them over to prediction market customers where it's more profitable. But because the guidance accounted for that investment and did not account for any revenue they would make from prediction markets, the stock market really reacted sharply. The stock fell about 26% last week to its lowest level since about 3 years ago. Now, CEO Jason Robbins has said that that's intentional. We want to kind of under-promise, over-deliver. It's a similar strategy they used a couple of years ago when they were really launching sports betting, get off the ground. I'm old enough to remember when everyone was wondering when these companies were going to be profitable. When are you going to show us how you can make a profit? They did that with same-game parlays, but a few years later, now it's how are you going to make money off prediction markets? And their handle has been down a little bit as well. I want to mention that. Only up about 4% in January, when last year it was up about 45%. So some people have questioned, are prediction markets the reason? Is Kalshi the reason? They've dismissed that, but others are asking, okay, what happens when they do start taking some of that handle with the trends we're seeing? So it'd be a really interesting year for DraftKings on a lot of fronts, but definitely in prediction markets. And I'm really excited to see how they invest in this product, which they're betting big on now by lowering the guidance. They're expecting to, overpromise at the end of the year. So we'll see what the rest of the year has in store for them.
Is it possible, Sam, that we get a state legalizing sports betting? It feels like we've heard some rumblings of North Dakota, South Dakota jumping into the fray. They don't necessarily get a lot of attention from us because their revenue wouldn't be nearly as high as some of the other states. But what do you make of some of these rumblings? Could they come to fruition?
Yeah, we've talked about a few states this year. I think mainly the focus right now is on states that have already legalized sports betting, the Mississippis of the world and now the South Dakotas. They've only had in-person betting since they legalized, and lawmakers in those states are really looking around like it's about time we finally do get on board expanding to mobile. I think a lot of the sentiment over the past couple of years about, not wanting to take revenue away from casinos, that has died down a little bit as you see, some of the numbers come out where, people are actually still going to the casinos, although they can still bet on sports on their phone. People just like that experience as well. That seems to be what's happening in South Dakota, like you mentioned, another small state. But lawmakers this week passed a joint resolution that would bring the question of online sports betting to the ballot in the November 2026 general election. Currently, South Dakota, I think since 2021, they have sports betting, but it's only in person at casinos in the historic town of Deadwood. So there's a reason that the state ranks dead last in handle and revenue and hold. It's not just because it's a very small state, but it's because you basically can't really bet anywhere. Lawmakers have been vocal about, it's happening anyway. It's happening offshore. It's happening on prediction markets, and it's happening in the state of Iowa, which a lot of people cross over to bet online legally. It's a lot easier than traveling to Deadwood. So I would be more bullish on a state that already has sports betting legal going online and passing an online version this year, or at least getting close to it, more than I would be a state like Hawaii, where they've kicked the can down to the year 3000, or a state like Utah, which probably never will. But as prediction markets hang in the balance, and if they stay legal, that could spur these states to capture some of the tax dollars. I think the American Gaming Association has estimated there's about $250 million that states have lost to prediction markets ceding sports to them. So if that keeps playing out, maybe that could pressure some others. But like I said, probably only states moving online versus, jumping into sports betting wholeheartedly.
And speaking of online, let's get to casino gaming in Virginia as we get ready to wrap it up. Sam, it seems like this is potentially moving forward.
Yeah, iGaming is only legal in about 7 states, so the fact that Virginia lawmakers both passed bills out of the House and Senate that would legalize iGaming is really big news for the DraftKings and FanDuels of the world, the folks that really want iGaming legal. We've always said that's the real end game for these sports betting companies. Get people to become sports bettors and then eventually get states to pass online casino, which is a much higher margin business. It did about $10 billion in revenue this past year, up 30%, despite only having 7 states and no new states legal. So lawmakers in Virginia are going to have to come together and reconcile their differences between these bills before March 14th, and then hand it to the governor. But it's certainly the farthest we've seen a state come on iGaming in some time, and obviously a very, very big, important state in Virginia. So we'll have to see what happens, but some good news in kind of, when the news hasn't been so good for these gaming companies. Hopefully they get this over the milestone and go from there and have iGaming in Virginia. We'll have to see.
Check back Friday, Sam. Maybe we'll get an update on that story and a whole lot more. I would encourage folks to head on over to LegalSportsReport.com to read Sam's columns, his stories, and everyone else over on their crew to learn more about prediction markets and legal market, sometimes the illegal market as well. Thanks again, Sam, for coming on the show. Really appreciate it. We'll catch up again Friday.
Yeah, sounds good. Thanks, Craig.
All right, coming up next, NBA All-Star Weekend has come and gone. The games are getting ready to start back up. What were the results of the ratings? We'll check in with Simon Applebaum after the break.
I was thinking about betting him to finish top 5 every week, and then he got off to that start last week, and I said, oh, okay, I dodged a bullet there. What does he do? He finishes top 5 again. And you would think he's probably going to do it again. I mean, he has, I want to say it's like 18 top 10 finishes in the last season or something like that. That's not even close to what Tiger had. It's way better.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
The level of hockey is being played. Like, if you're not really into the NHL, you should watch this and you will enjoy it. Like, it's a different level of hockey. Like, the NHL, basically, there's like 6 really good guys on each team. And in the Olympics, like, every guy is good. Like, it's next level. It's something to behold.
Winter Games Central, only on SportsGrid.
Class is in session. Today, let's talk about the teaser. A teaser is a multi-leg bet where you shift the point spread in your favor. You get better numbers, but every selection has to win. It doesn't matter what you bet if you don't have the insights. Tune into SportsGrid and get ahead of the class.
You're just trying to always build around what somebody does well. What is the DNA, the nucleus of what they do? Yeah. And everybody who gets to the tour is great at something because they're the top 1% of the 1% of golfers around the world. So I think people sometimes forget that, that won't work. Well, if you'd gone back 15 years, people would look at Scotty Scheffler and probably go, that's not going to work.
The Smiley Show, only on SportsGrid.
Welcome back to NewsWire here on SportsGrid. The Winter Olympics are heating up. I guess there is not a pun to have there, but let's check in with Simon Applebaum on that and also the NBA All-Star Weekend results as far as streaming and ratings are concerned. Simon hosts a podcast tomorrow, will be televised, that discusses a lot of the topics that we go into a little bit more in depth. Simon, thanks for coming back here on NewsWire. Before we get to the NBA, let's hit on the Olympics here. Some huge games going on and basically some medal rounds we're approaching here for Team USA in hockey and of course Team Canada, who's on the ice right now, so we'll have an update there. But my understanding is about a week and a half in here, it feels like this is a very big win in terms of ratings for the Winter Olympics. We're talking about ratings levels we haven't seen in some time.
So far, Craig, it's great to be back. It's holding up. A week ago, when I was on a conference call after this show with Molly Solomon, the head of NBC Olympics, and Mike Tirico and crew, NBC was saying that 26.4 million people were on average watching the Olympics spread out over NBC, Peacock, USA Network, and CNBC. A day later, in terms of what happened through Wednesday, it went down to 25 million. On Sunday, when they gave an update along with the NBA stats, we'll get into in a bit, the average daily among all those networks went down to 24 million. So they've lost 2 million on the average and have not been, and we haven't had, by the way, any updates since. I think right now it's all on the U.S. team. Michaela Schifrin winning, by the way, her big gold medal in skiing this morning, I think is going to help the viewership. We've got the USA-Sweden game coming up for the men's hockey team. It's 3 o'clock. I would not be surprised if that game, which currently is going to be played on Peacock and USA Network, that NBC pulls it and decides we're going to run it on our broadcast stations and our broadcast affiliates. And then tomorrow we've got the women's hockey game. I think that's huge. USA-Canada. I think that's going to be a surefire gold medal for the U.S. team. They already beat Canada after you pulverized them in their preliminary round game. And this is one of the great stories of the Olympics for the U.S. team has been the women's hockey. But it has to be more than that. The figure skating team has got to come back. It's been a lopsided situation. Some good, but not much good in terms of the figure skating team. And somebody like the woman, Elaine, who won the Mamobod, that women's bobsledding event 2 days ago, it's going to be a help. Right now, by the way, in terms of the total medal count, Norway is leading in first place. Italy, the host country, is in second. USA is in third, a lot because of 11 silver medals, not gold medals. In the gold medal count, Norway, Italy second. USA, on the basis of Michaela Schifrin winning this morning, now has 7 gold medals. They still have a shot to do 10, which is what people were expecting. However, they've got a couple of countries like Netherlands and Sweden, which are tied for fourth with 6, and they could still pull an upset. So it's all on the U.S. team to see how the Olympics are going. But no question about it. In terms of the production value, it's been spectacular. Molly Solomon and crew have done an amazing job. I think the big highlight in terms technical was the drone camera shot where you're right behind the athlete as they're going down the slope in skiing or down the luge track. It's been absolutely amazing, and I hope that gets a Technical Emmy Award for sports later this year.
So, Simon, we had the NBA All-Star Weekend come and go last weekend, and I found it very interesting, at least in my view, that I didn't get the sense that anything was really different as far as the weekend was concerned, whether it was the three-point contest or the dunk contest or even the game itself. But NBC seems to be really pulling into nostalgia and leaning in here with John Tesh and everything else that's going on. And at least for my money, Simon, I think that's why more folks were tuned into the NBA All-Star Game than anything else, aside from some of the results. But you tell me, what did you think the reason was why the ratings were better than they have been in previous years?
Actually better than 15 years. Not since 2011 has the NBA All-Star Game, which used to be a primetime game, by the way, keep this in mind, it was a 5 o'clock to 8 o'clock event because of the Olympics before and after on NBC and Peacock. It had 8.8 million people watching. And this, by the way, across NBC, Peacock, and for the first time, Telemundo in Spanish. I think that there were a couple factors. Number one, the nostalgia. For the weekend, by the way, John Tesh with Round Ball Rock playing that. The fact you had other NBC, Barack Obama, former president, showing up at the All-Star Game. And in fact, at one point, getting a ball almost in his lap. You also had, I think, great camera coverage. Noah Eagle, Reggie Miller, Jamal Crawford, I think on the play-by-play commentary were all terrific. But most importantly, the athletes, at least for the 3 quarters of that game, came to play. You had a great performance by Victor Wembanyama, then by Anthony Edwards, who later was the MVP, and then Kawhi Leonard with 31 points in that third quarter. I believe that if that fourth quarter had not been a blowout, you would have seen the first 10 million people watching the NBA All-Star Game for the first time in 15 years rather than 8.8. So I think NBC tried to make it as great a game as possible. In terms of the All-Star Weekend, yes, the slam dunk contest was bad. Mixed reviews about the three-pointer. The Rising Stars, Liberty was on ESPN with all the influencers taking part. So I think that there's a lot to deal with in terms of where the NBA All-Star game goes from here. One other NBA note. Here's the answer to the question, whatever happened to Jalen Rose, the former ESPN color commentator? Well, he has gone back to his roots in Michigan, and he has formed a new production company with a local Detroit finance entrepreneur. And this production company is going to do at least one scripted series, unscripted shows for various networks and channels, and also they're working on a podcast, a video podcast. So Jalen Rose, now a TV entrepreneur.
Simon, as we wrap up, we're going to have more discussion on the NFL coming up with the draft. And, once we sort of get out of college basketball mode, that really takes center stage. But ESPN and ABC certainly aren't shy about the idea that they're making this year for their broadcast network all about the Super Bowl, which is now less than 365 days away.
And they're not waiting until day of the Super Bowl next February to make it their deal. Ever since the end of the Super Bowl, where you had Chris Berman in the handoff sequence on NFL Primetime, handed to Scott Van Pelt. ESPN, all over their schedule, on ESPN Radio as well, has been every chance they get say, we have the year of the Super Bowl next year. And you're seeing individual segments on SportsCenter or Get Up or First Take called I Threw a Touchdown or I Did a Touchdown with former Super Bowl players about their touchdown-winning moments. Jeremy Schaap is doing a Biggest Game podcast, a weekly podcast now, available through ESPN's various services. And you're going to see more and more of these events. Plus, you're going to see special events at Walt Disney World, at Disneyland, and other Disney attractions, both in person. And I think you're going to see something, by the way, at the NFL Draft, also at Monday Night Football games for the fans. This is one big campaign that's going to run all year long, and they're going to crow and crow about it till kingdom come.
We'll have you, Simon, to tell us what the very latest plans are for that Super Bowl. Thanks again for coming on.
You're welcome, Craig. Take care. Enjoy the rest of the week.
You had the over in U.S. Latvia. That literally was, I don't like the term bad beat, but it's a bad beat when you have 2 goals overturned in the first period alone and you outshoot a team like 300-6 and you can't get it over. You can't get it over 6.5 and the game finishes 5-1. And similar situation with Germany and Denmark.
In-game live only on SportsGrid.
George, Rutschman is an interesting one here. I mean, this was somebody that we were told was going to be a superstar. I feel like we've done this now with back-to-back young catchers on Baltimore that they've taken. They've taken Matt Wieters. Remember when they took him super high and everyone thought he was the second coming? Then they took Adley Rutschman. I guess the good news is they have Sam Basallo, who's supposed to be fantastic too, but can't whiff on 3 like that, can you?
Fantasy Sports Today, only on SportsGrid.
Road trips to Kentucky and Tennessee, which are pressure environments where mistakes can snowball a team quickly. And not even listen at those games there. How about the home games they have left with Alabama and Florida, who bring size, who bring pace, and physicality that punish you on both ends of the floor.
College basketball today, only on SportsGrid.
Class is in session. Today, let's talk about the teaser. A teaser is a multi-leg bet where you shift the point spread in your favor. You get better numbers, but every selection has to win. It doesn't matter what you bet if you don't have the insights. Tune into SportsGrid and get ahead of the class.
A potential major upset brewing in hockey at the Olympics as Chechnya has taken a 3-2 lead on Team Canada. Stay tuned before the end of the show. Figure out who is moving on. Now let's check in with Brady Cannon. He sits down with the CEO and founder of Internet Vikings, Ricard Vikstrom. Ricard, very responsible for online hosting. Take a listen.
Welcome back, everybody. It's Brady Cannon on SportsGrid here with you live from the Venetian Expo floor at G2E, the 2025 edition, and we continue to roll through some fascinating guests here on the set. And we are now joined by Ricard Vikstrom. He is the CEO and founder of Internet Vikings. Ricard, thank you so much for joining us here today.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, this is really the first person that I've talked to that does this job, and I always say it's fascinating being here for 3 days. You stumble across so many different tiny little facets of this massive gaming world that we're all joining here to, rub elbows and network and talk with each other. You run a hosting service. So I pick up my phone, I log on to BetMGM, whatever it is. You're the back of the house guy. You're the one that runs these with servers and hundreds of them and stuff like that. So tell me, obviously that's a highly technology-driven field. Is that where you started? How did you get into the gaming side of technology?
That's a very good question. So my background is being servers, hosting, like routers, switches, network for all my life.
Okay.
I started on that path. My business partner, Victor, he started working at a sportsbook in Malta in 2005.
Okay.
So then we decided, because we are like childhood friends, we known each other for, 25, 30 years. And we then decided, okay, let's do something together in 2008. And then we started Vikings to do hosting for the industry, for the gaming industry.
Did you just feel that was a market where there was opportunity?
Yeah. But we saw it in Malta. First 10 years was more on the affiliate side to help all the affiliate companies in Europe to help them with link building, with domain names, with servers, because they needed a lot of it. And that's where we started. And then we transitioned into more on the operator side, to the suppliers, to the sports books, to help them as well.
Now, you mentioned your partner, Victor. He worked in a sports book. Is he a sports fan?
No.
Are you?
No.
No. So is that kind of strange?
It is. We have some of my colleagues, he needs to tell me, okay, what sport it is. It's like, is it soccer, is it football, is it baseball, or I know one thing, I know Formula One. That's the only thing I know, and I'm pretty good at that one at least.
Where did you travel from to attend G2E?
Stockholm, Sweden.
Okay, all right, and that's home for you?
That's home.
And that's where your office is and everything?
Yeah, so our headquarters is in Stockholm. We have a big engineering hub in Malta.
Okay.
And a few offices spread around Europe as well.
And, is most of your business in the U.S. or is it in Europe? Or
it's in the U.S. We've grown over the last 3 years, tremendously, from basically nothing 3.5, 4 years ago to today. 70% of our revenue is in the U.S.
Okay. And you were telling me before we came on the program, again, Ricard Vikstrom is our guest. He is the CEO and founder of Internet Vikings. And I was pretty astounded. You said you work with hundreds of companies providing their hosting services.
Yeah, that is correct.
And how did you acquire all that?
A lot of flying.
A lot of work.
A lot of work. No, because no one wakes up in the morning and think, okay, I'm going to change hosting provider. It just doesn't happen.
Right.
That is something that you need to build that trust over time. You need to build that relationship. And then eventually, if someone is expanding to a new state, they need to put disaster recovery in. That's when we come in. And that's when we can help.
And you've obviously established a reputation of being reliable. Is that because you rarely run into a problem, it never goes down, you never have a glitch, yada yada? Is that what kind of separates you, that makes you a formidable piece in the industry that people will go to for help?
I think it's two things. First of all, our experience in the industry and know what everyone is looking for in terms of reliability, how the industry works. We wouldn't put a maintenance window in when it's a Super Bowl.
Very good. I love that honesty and transparency. Very good. Thank you so much for joining us. It's Ricard Vikstrom. He is the CEO and founder of Internet Vikings. Where do we find you? How can we contact you? Somebody that's interested in hosting services.
Just go to our website, internetvikings.com, or come by our amazing stand here.
Sounds good. InternetVikings.com. We'll be back with more in just a moment right here on SportsGrid.
You had the over in U.S. Latvia. That literally was, I don't like the term bad beat, but it's a bad beat when you have 2 goals overturned in the first period alone and you outshoot a team like 300-6 and you can't get it over. You can't get it over 6.5 and the game finishes 5-1. In similar situation with Germany and Denmark.
In-game live only on SportsGrid.
George Rutschman is an interesting one here. I mean, this was somebody that we were told was going to be a superstar. I feel like we've done this now with back-to-back young catchers on Baltimore that they've taken. They've taken Matt Wieters. Remember when they took him super high and everyone thought he was the second coming? Then they took Adley Rutschman. I guess the good news is they have Sam Basallo, who's supposed to be fantastic too, but can't whiff on 3 like that, can you?
Fantasy Sports Today. Only on SportsGrid.
Road trips to Kentucky and Tennessee, which are pressure environments where mistakes can snowball a team quickly. And not even listen at those games there. How about the home games they have left with Alabama and Florida, who bring size, who bring pace, and physicality that punish you on both ends of the floor.
College basketball today. Only on SportsGrid.
Class is in session. Today, let's talk about the teaser. A teaser is a multi-leg bet where you shift the point spread in your favor. You get better numbers, but every selection has to win. It doesn't matter what you bet if you don't have the insights. Tune into SportsGrid and get ahead of the class.
Welcome back to NewsWire here on SportsGrid. Always great to check in with Adam Kaufman, who's been patiently awaiting the return of the National Basketball Association. So I guess, Adam, we got to wait another day here. For me, it's okay. I got spring training baseball, you know.
Yeah, I'm running out of patience. Be perfectly honest with you, I'm running out of. I mean, I don't know why they need quite this much time. Everything happened on the weekend, Saturday and Sunday. It's not like there's been anything. It's strange. Like there used to be kind of the, you know, your reward, so to speak, for not being named an all-star, even though everyone wants to be named an all-star, is you do get that elongated break. But now, if you're going to have the all-star stuff happening over the course of Friday, Saturday, Sunday, but then still not resume your season until Thursday, it sort of feels like we're giving the all-stars a break as well. And that's just disingenuous to the process. I don't like it. Get back to work.
Yeah, I think it must have been collectively bargained in their CBA.
I'm sure.
Because what I remember in the All-Star game was the teams played Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and then there was like usually 2 games on a Thursday, and that was it. And then Friday, Saturday, Sunday were the games. And then, by the way, Monday, a couple of teams played, and that was it. And then everybody was back Tuesday. But you're right, this is way more extended. So let's take a look at the first half. Let's look at the Eastern more than the first half, obviously. These teams have played 50 some odd games. But Eastern Conference here, Detroit, pound for pound, the most consistent team in the NBA this season. Without a doubt, even more so maybe than Oklahoma City. Oklahoma City, the best team, but Detroit, the most consistent. They just never really had a bad streak in them. 40-13 on the year, and then Boston is right there with 35 wins. So are the Knicks. The Cavs have come on strong. You have Toronto, and then you also have Philadelphia. So I guess most folks think that I don't know if you include Cleveland in this race for the East as well. Some people think yes, some people think no. Some folks think it is Detroit, Boston, and New York to win the East. Do you feel that way, or is Cleveland potentially in the mix as well?
I think Cleveland's in the mix simply because they've improved ever so slightly. Very small sample size, obviously, since getting rid of Darius Garland, who for whatever reason it wasn't working with him this year. And I know he's been a big part of what they've done in the past, but I was looking at numbers earlier, and I think 21-8, something along those lines this year without him, whereas a 500 record with him. So they get rid of him. They bring in James Harden, who, as we know, is this just perennial loser in terms of, not accomplishing things at the highest levels of the NBA on a team level. Individually, of course, he's done basically everything one could do, but on a team level, he hasn't. And now there's a little bit of, team hopping, whether it's ring chasing or just being disgruntled in his various environments. Hard for me to say, but the Cavs are off to a 3-0 start since his arrival. So, Evan Mobley should be coming back from his injury soon as well. If they can string wins together, if the Knicks and Celtics continue to vie as they are, obviously, for the Atlantic, I think that, ultimately, while the Cavs do belong in the conversation, the Pistons are the team to look at, because you brought it up in comparison to the Thunder. OKC got off to that otherworldly start, 24-1, whatever it was, despite the fact that the Thunder really haven't been fully healthy all year long. There's just every game, it feels like there's somebody influential or multiple somebodies who are out of the lineup. So we still haven't seen OKC 50 plus games into the year at their best, the championship version that they were last year. And in spite of all of that, still have an incredible record off the hot start. And, they've come back down to earth of late, but feels like those are the two teams, if you're thinking about, and this goes back to your original question in terms of winning the East, who's going to have the most wins in the NBA? I think the Pistons, just based on what they're doing and what a tough out they are, they're worthy of an investment. They're worthy of a thought at plus money. And so if we're going to feel that way about them as compared to OKC, certainly when you're looking at the East individually, you have to say this is still Detroit's conference to lose. Now, all of that being said, I'm purely talking about the regular season and who's the one seed. When it comes to the playoffs, at that point in a series, anything can happen. And I'm not including some of the bottom feeders, the play-in tournament teams, or even teams that are sitting there, let's say 5 through 8 necessarily. But your 1 through 4, if Jason Tatum does come back for Boston, if the Cavs, the Pistons can stay healthy, if the Knicks, are just continually a team that, really has a lot of tenacity and physicality and aggression and all of that stuff, and just continues to be, again, a tough out, to use that phrase, there's, either any of those 4 teams ultimately could represent the Eastern Conference.
Agreed. Now, in the West, it's maybe a little bit more clear-cut as far as who can win the conference, because Oklahoma City is the best team, and the Spurs have had their number. If you want to take a step beyond that, Denver with Jokic obviously would be much better than 35-20 on the season, but that's kind of where they are. And I don't really think anybody thinks that Houston is going to win the conference. Could they upset someone and get to the Western Conference Finals? Yes, I think that's in play. Then you have the Lakers and the Timberwolves, and I think I have a ton of confidence of them winning the conference. So I can't rule out Denver. They have arguably the best or second best player in the NBA, and the Spurs have the number of the Thunder. So is it worth a dart throw just taking San Antonio and hoping they face Oklahoma City? Because I think Denver, by the way, would beat San Antonio in the West.
To your point, if we're talking about who ultimately wins the West in the playoffs, reaches the NBA Finals, to me it is those 3 teams. I'm kind of in the wake of this Kevin Durant burner stuff going on, waiting for the Houston Rockets to implode. I don't take the Lakers all that seriously. To me, they're just too old. And then the Timberwolves, yeah, they've been in the Western Conference Finals each of the last couple of years, but there's just only so much Anthony Edwards is going to be able to do, not on his own. There's other players on that team of talent, I realize, but it's a top-heavy conference. And that top tier are those 3 teams that you mentioned. And so Oklahoma City, to me, and I would think to anyone, is still the rightful favorite to win that conference and win the championship, for that matter, and repeat, if it can get healthy at the right time. We haven't seen it. Again, Jalen Williams missed a huge stretch to begin the year. Now we've seen SGA out or Holmgren out and on and on. They're not themselves of yet, despite the record. And you outlined it, and I've brought this up a number of times before as well. For whatever reason, San Antonio, Wemby or no Wemby, they have just owned Oklahoma City. There's just something about this matchup that goes, beyond the alien, that they have been able to have their number and control. And then when it comes to Jokic, I mean, I thought Oklahoma City was going to lose to Denver in the playoffs last year. And I'm almost always, just going to lean in pretty heavily on Jokic and the Nuggets so long as he has some representative pieces around him, because again, he is the best player in the NBA. He's not the MVP this year, but to me, he is the best player in the NBA, and I'm just never going to count a team that is led by Jokic out. And so I think it's tough. I think it's really tough to watch those three teams, potentially beat the hell out of each other. Now, if you do want to lean in on the old Phil Jackson adage of, within the modern era, the 40-20 rule, and teams, if you're a legit contender, you have to win 40 games before you lose 20. It narrows the field tremendously. We've only seen teams without that benchmark win 4 titles during the modern era, and really all of them, if you look at them, outliers. The teams this year, just a quick peek at the standings, Oklahoma City has already qualified, Detroit as well. Both those teams have won 40 plus while losing in the teens. San Antonio at 38-16 should get there. And then Boston, who needs a winning streak here at 35-19, needs a 5-0 start to the second half to qualify as well. But we're only talking about 3 or 4 teams that, according to that rule, barring outlier, is a realistic champion come the early part of the summer.
NBA's MVP, Adam, down the stretch we go here. SGA is minus 190. So naturally, it looks like it's his to lose, but given the amount of games that he's missing, still a little dicey to think that he could win this thing if he misses, I don't know, another 8 to 10 more games. And then you have Jokic, who is back at 3-1. I think it's going to be one of those two.
Well, that's what it is. It down to injury with this, new requirement in the last couple of years that you have to play 65 games to qualify. When Jokic returned sooner than I thought he would, I invested Jokic at 5-1. Like you said, it's 3-1 right now. That to me just felt like a good number for a dart throw. If he misses any stretch of games, that bet is dead because he won't play in enough games. And if NBA continues to miss time, that's a problem as well. If he does, now, if he doesn't, pardon me, he's absolutely the MVP. If he doesn't, you got a wide open field there.
Thanks, Adam, for coming on. We'll talk soon.
They're probably not going to take a lot of Seattle bets. Putting Kansas City at the same number as Detroit or behind LA, way behind Green Bay, way behind Buffalo or Baltimore, who they beat every year, it feels like they are asking for Chiefs money. That would be my read on it, which I feel like usually the idea, Cam, is they never have to ask for Chiefs money.
Game time decisions. Only on SportsGrid.
George, Rutschman is an interesting one here. I mean, this was somebody that we were told was going to be a superstar. I feel like we've done this now with back-to-back young catchers on Baltimore that they've taken. They've taken Matt Wieters. Remember when they took him super high and everyone thought he was the second coming? Then they took Adley Rutschman. I guess the good news is they have Sam Basallo, who's supposed to be fantastic too, but can't whiff on 3 like that, can you?
Fantasy Sports Today. Only on SportsGrid.
Looks like, Dan, this is going to be a year where we're going to really find out if prediction markets are going to kind of work beyond what we currently know. Because while they are expanding and other companies are certainly getting into it, we're getting finally more pushback from states all across the country, and in particular, Nevada, Massachusetts, seemingly are trying to lead the forefront.
NewsWire. Only on SportsGrid.
Class is in session. Today, let's talk about the teaser. A teaser is a multi-leg bet where you shift the point spread in your favor. You get better numbers, but every selection has to win. It doesn't matter what you bet if you don't have the insights. Tune into SportsGrid and get ahead of the class.
Welcome back to NewsWire here on Sports Grid. Another big PGA Tour tournament coming up in California as we head to Florida coming up real soon. Can't wait to catch some of the action here. Let's bring in Brady Cannon to recap what we saw at the Pebble Beach Pro-Am and then get to Riviera this week. Brady, great to have you back here on NewsWire. And hey, what a great week this past week for Colin Morikawa winning the Pebble Beach Pro-Am. I mean, is this number correct? He shot 22 under par. Is that accurate? That's a big number for him this week.
You know, this is a couple of home run hitters to close out the West Coast swing, Pebble Beach and Riviera. A couple of my absolute favorites, a couple of the best golf courses in the world. I really love the Genesis Invitational, what used to be the LA Open. I think it's one of the best tournaments. A lot of the players on the PGA Tour feel this is the best course that they play as far as the regular season is concerned outside of the major championships. But the weather has been a factor. The rain or the wind blew a lot at Pebble before the golf tournament. You had a little bit of moisture. We've had some moisture in the LA area. So that, when you have a soft golf course, that is leading to some of those scores like 22 under that got it done for Colin Morikawa, my neighbor here in Las Vegas, by the way. So that was cool to see him get back in the winner's circle after almost 3 years. I think it's great for the game. People were really starting to doubt his ability to close the door, and to do it at a place like Pebble Beach, to hold off Scotty Scheffler, makes another charge on the weekend. Just unbelievable. And now we go into another signature event, another loaded field. There will be a cut this time. The top 50 players and ties will advance to the weekend, and also anybody within 10 shots of the lead. Only 72 players in the field to begin with, but after 36 holes, there will be a cut. And then, like you say, we head over to Florida. Golf season is off to a tremendous start.
Yeah, Cognizant Classic coming up in a couple of weeks. I'm driving to spring training, and I'm seeing the signs on the road for that coming up in Palm Beach. Okay, so let's take a look at the Genesis Invitational coming up this week. As Brady said, this name has changed a couple of different times, but the players remain the same. Scotty Scheffler, of course, is a favorite. He's 3-1. Rory McIlroy's 11-1. Xander Schauffele 17-1. So is Tommy Fleetwood. Hideki Matsuyama with the big win a couple of weeks ago is 20-1, and then Patrick Cantlay at 27-1 as well. So look, naturally, it's this time of the year with golf. It's, are you betting Scotty Scheffler or are you fading Scotty Scheffler? And we have to start off each week, Brady, with that question.
Yeah. Well, he's never won here before. And by the way, the tournament host, Tiger Woods, has never won here before either, nor did Jack Nicklaus. If you look at the crossover between guys that have won the Masters and guys that have won at Riviera, it's incredible. Fred Couples, Nick Faldo, Adam Scott, Phil Mickelson, Dustin Johnson, Hideki Matsuyama, Mike Weir. I mean, the connection between those two courses is something. And obviously, Scotty has won the Masters twice. Rory's your defending champion. Got some information from my friends over at BetMGM this morning. The most tickets and the most handle at BetMGM are, guess who? Scotty Scheffler and Rory McIlroy. They're also the two biggest liabilities at BetMGM. Rory McIlroy, number one, Scotty Scheffler, number two. And then out of nowhere, Tony Finau, the third biggest liability at BetMGM. His odds are in the triple digits. He is over, I want to say around 120-1. Tony Finau, think about that, how far he's dropped off. He's played in 5 events this season. He's missed the cut 3 times, but he does come off of a very nice week at Pebble Beach last week. He's been in a playoff here, losing to Max Homa at Riviera in 2021. But his game has really plummeted from what we, have come to expect in recent years out of Tony Finau. We'll see if he can put it together here this week.
So let's take a look at Brady's wins this week. And when I say wins, I'm always having good feelings and good vibes when Brady's got guys in the 30-1. So here we go. Patrick Cantlay, let's take a look here. Matt Fitzpatrick at 35-1. Sam Burns, 42-1. Min Woo Lee at 48-1. And then your Hail Mary of the week is Jason Day at 70-1 this week. All right, Brady, let's break it down.
Yeah, a couple of Australians at big prices there. Minwoo Lee, of course, finishing runner-up last week at Pebble Beach. His short game was outstanding. He was second in that field for strokes gained putting. And we have that same funky surface, Poa annua. You know, what we see out here on the West Coast, it's hard to putt on Poa annua greens. It's also at Riviera, so I'm expecting the good putting to continue for Minwoo Lee. One thing you're going to hear on the broadcast this week, Craig, kikuyu grass, okay? It's native to Africa and is really prolific in South Africa and Australia. So we've seen Australians have a lot of success here at Riviera because I think the familiarity with that type of grass, it's really tough to chip out of, you know, the rough around the greens. It gets nasty and sticky, that kikuyu. So the more comfortable you are with it, like Australians, Jason Day, Minwoo Lee, I think that gives them a little bit of an edge. Now, Fitzpatrick and Cantlay have been playing great golf as of late, especially Fitzpatrick. Cantlay grew up in this area in Long Beach, California, went to LA. He's finished top 4 here 3 times. Now, Fitzpatrick and Cantlay are a couple of pretty popular picks this week as well, but they make a ton of sense. Some people not so high on Sam Burns. He played beautifully last week at Pebble, a short game magician. He putted well on the Poa annua. He's done well here before at Riviera. If his irons come through this week, I think he'll be in contention once again.
I'm telling you right now, Brady, that if Minwoo Lee and Jason Day, they don't even have to win this. If they come close to winning, and it's because of this kikuyu grass that you're talking about, I mean, the things you bring to this table here on golf, on NewsWire and on SportsGrid, I mean, I did not see that coming. I don't think you've ever brought that up. I've never heard of that kikuyu grass. Is that the only spot that they have it on the tour, or is it somewhere else?
It's here and there. There is some at Torrey Pines. Like I say, it's prolific in South Africa and Australia, but this is really the most famous venue for the kikuyu. It's a very strong blade of grass that props the ball up beautifully in the fairway. But when it grows out and gets gnarly and stuff around the greens and in the rough, it is a bear to deal with. So you have to know what you're doing with the old kikuyu stuff, Craig.
NewsWire brought to you by Kikuyu on this episode of the show. That's for sure.
The
All right, Brady, good luck.
Comes next.
I mean, my gosh. Good luck this week, Brady. Thanks again.
Thanks, buddy.
Why Brady is the best on the show. All right, we'll be back with Last Licks next.
They're probably not going to take a lot of Seattle bets. Putting Kansas City at the same number as Detroit or behind LA, way behind Green Bay, way behind Buffalo or Baltimore, who they beat every year, it feels like they are asking for Chiefs money. That would be my read on it, which I feel like usually the idea, Cam, is they never have to ask for Chiefs money.
Game time decisions. Only on SportsGrid.
George Rutschman is an interesting one here. I mean, this was somebody that we were told was going to be a superstar. I feel like we've done this now with back-to-back young catchers on Baltimore that they've taken. They've taken Matt Wieters. Remember when they took him super high and everyone thought he was the second coming? Then they took Adley Rutschman. I guess the good news is they have Sam Basallo, who's supposed to be fantastic too, but can't whiff on 3 like that, can you?
Fantasy Sports Today. Only on SportsGrid.
Looks like, Dan, this is going to be a year where we're going to really find out if prediction markets are going to kind of work beyond what we currently know. Because while they are expanding and other companies are certainly getting into it, we're getting finally more pushback from states all across the country, and in particular, Nevada, Massachusetts, seemingly are trying to lead the forefront.
NewsWire. Only on SportsGrid.
Class is in session. Today, let's talk about the teaser. A teaser is a multi-leg bet where you shift the point spread in your favor. You get better numbers, but every selection has to win. It doesn't matter what you bet if you don't have the insights. Tune into SportsGrid and get ahead of the class.
And welcome back to NewsWire here on SportsGrid. You know, Chicago Bears making some announcements on their coaching staff today, but yesterday they made even a bigger announcement, which is after one season, they're raising ticket prices again, just after having one good winning season. I guess Ben Johnson needs more money. I don't know. But the Bears, who are still struggling to get a new stadium built, have decided to raise prices by 10 to 15% across the board. National Football League salaries going up. So is the salary cap. Interesting move by the Bears. All right, we get to an interesting move by Fanatics and also talk about some of the comments that Mark Cuban made yesterday and a funny incident, as they say, with a four-legged friend at the Winter Olympics. Time now for some last licks. Okay, well, here we go. Jersey stories again. It feels like we do this every year with Major League Baseball, do we not? There was that one year, I think it was 2 spring trainings ago, where baseball jerseys came out and they were sort of see-through. It was kind of weird. Well, look, Fanatics is, taking over a lot of this, and, they're very heavily involved, and they're selling jerseys now. Yesterday on social media, what was the buzz about jerseys all about? It was about the Boston Red Sox. They posted the Fanatics jerseys that are out this year on the players versus the ones that were out the year before. I know it may be hard for you, some of you see in a little graphic if you're watching the show on your phone, but I got to tell you, the way that they have used that Red Sox writing on the jersey, it looks absolutely bizarre. It looks like, I hate to say it, it looks like some of those international jerseys that you buy on eBay for like $20. The letters are different than what they are in Red Sox, SOX. And also, they're all like really clumped together. It looks like they were made like super fast and just like, let's do these as fast as we can without really caring. I hate to throw Fanatics under the bus. I hate to throw any of these companies under the bus. They got to do better. These are Major League Baseball players at spring training, and you stand to make a lot of money from this stuff. I don't know. It was just, I hate to say, did Majestic ever have these problems for like 30 years in baseball? It feels like Nike, Fanatics, either way. Okay, so that's our first story of the day. Red Sox do better. Not their fault. Okay, Mark Cuban. He is a former owner of the Dallas Mavericks, who may be an owner again, by the way. We've heard some rumors about that. Big Indiana Hoosiers fan. His team won the national championship this past year. How about these comments from Mark Cuban? And maybe we should start thinking about this. Cuban says, quote, that the NBA should worry more about fan experience than tanking. How about that? It should worry more about pricing fans out of games than tanking. You know who cares the least about tanking? It's a parent who can't afford to bring their 3 kids to a game and buy their kid's jersey of their favorite player. Tanking isn't the issue. Affordability and quality of game presentation are. How about that? From Mark Cuban. If Cuban ever takes over back owner of the Dallas Mavericks, they're going to use that little quote there when they're getting ready to sell tickets again. Is Cuban wrong? Probably not. I would agree. It's very hard as a regular person to just simply buy 4 tickets to a sporting event, let alone an NBA game, NFL game, even Major League Baseball game to a degree. But tanking is indeed a huge issue. So, 80-20, 70-30, 50-50. You guys could be the ones to determine that, how important in that big pie chart things are. But this is not changing anytime soon. The salary caps keep going up. The players are making more money. And as long as these guys are getting paid to not play, Chris Paul was on like 5 teams without playing a game this season, ended up retiring, getting like $40 million. This is the problem. Not necessarily about salaries. I'm not saying the players shouldn't make a lot of money. But the way that the NBA's cap works with these players who don't play and trading contracts of players who are retired, absolutely bizarre. Wonder if Cuban will take over. We'll see if that quote comes back to bite him a little. Winter Olympics have been awesome. The ratings are up. Hockey, of course, going on as we speak right now. But a funny moment at the Winter Olympics happened on the ice, as they say, or in the snow. Out of nowhere during one of the events, a dog ran onto the ice / snow. in the middle of the event. Like, how did this even happen? Somebody brought their dog to the Olympics and it ran on and they had to get it and take it off. And it was a very funny video, which of course, because we don't have the rights to the Olympics, like only one company does, we can't show it to you. I would encourage you to go online. Very cute moment for our four-legged friend, the dog, who was going for the gold. The Winter Olympics yesterday. That'll do it for our show today. Thanks to our guests, Michael DeCourcy, Sam McQuillan, Simon Applebaum, Adam Kaufman, and Brady Cannon. Thanks again to my director, Luke, for my producer, Frank. I'm Craig Mish. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. We'll have Orioles baseball discussion on our show tomorrow as we go around spring training. With that, we'll see you tomorrow on our next edition of NewsWire. Have a great day, everyone. See you then.